This is the first automaton I ever made, probably about 25 years ago. Unfortunately, I didn't put a date on it. I think you should always put a date on your work so you know when you made it. It's kind of crude and a little bit clunky, and it really wasn't entirely successful. The automaton has three different actions: spinning the ball on its finger, raising and lowering its arm, and tapping its foot. I'll take you through its parts. First is a wooden crank on a wooden dowel that forms the crankshaft. Inside the box is this wooden retainer on the crankshaft. It's held to the crankshaft by this removable pin. I'll show you how it comes out. I just grab it by the pliers and out it comes. This allows me to move the crankshaft out and do some repairs on the work if necessary. This square piece inside is actually a cam that actuates the foot. This weighted follower rests on the cam and communicates with the foot through a link. The player's leg is not actually attached to the foot. The follower arm pivots on the box, connected to it by this bracket in back. This 18-tooth gear is attached to the cam, and the whole assembly is glued to the crankshaft. The 18-tooth gear spins a smaller 9-tooth gear which rotates the ball. This turns it twice as fast as the crankshaft turns. The ball spins on the player's finger via a 3/32 inch shaft that's painted black for invisibility. As you can see, maybe it's not quite as invisible as it ought to be. The mechanism for raising and lowering the basketball player's arm begins at the end of the crankshaft, where a hole has been drilled offset for a pin. The pin engages a lever above it through a little brass link. This lever is also held in place by a removable pin. At the other end of the lever inside the box is another pin with its end bent up at 90 degrees. There's a sharp point on the end of this pin that engages the mechanism for raising and lowering the ball. The point of the pin bears on the underside of the basketball rod, raising and lowering it, making it appear that the player is actually raising and lowering his arm. Unfortunately, the motion is so slight that it's hardly even noticeable. An interesting problem that came up was how to let the basketball rod rise and fall at the same time it was spinning. This is difficult to show, but the rod is soldered to a small piece of square tubing. This slides in another larger piece of square tubing that's soldered inside the shaft to which the small gear is attached. In this way, the basketball rod can rise and fall and spin at the same time. This small brass retaining ring where the shaft emerges from the box keeps the small gear in place. The player's finger is just a bit of brass tubing through which the rod passes. His arm is fully articulated and can move freely. His body was cut out on the scroll saw and painted. No attempt was made to make it round. His nose is just stuck on as a separate piece. The player is not actually attached to the box. He stands loosely on a pin coming up from the box and can be taken off if need be. I made the box out of some rough plywood, and it's just glued together. I recently went through this guy, lubricating all of his rotating and sliding parts and waxing the wooden bearings. Today he operates as well as he ever has.